the first to arrive at shootings, fires, crashes, as well as other emergencies and traumatic events. Police officers, firefighters, and paramedics save lives first before taking time to really process what they've just experienced. Enter Erasing the Distance, a nonprofit organization that uses the power of performance to end the stigma surrounding mental health issues and to promote healing. The group's latest showcase is called First Responders, exploring the mental health experiences of firefighters, paramedics, and law enforcement. Well, here in the studio this morning is Heather Bodie, the artistic director of Erasing the Distance. And Bodie is also the director of the play First Responders. And also joining us, Brian Warner. He is the former chairman of the Chicago Police Survivors Organization and a former Chicago police officer for nearly 2 decades in our city. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Well, you know, Heather, first tell us about the organization and how it got its start.
So the organization was founded in 2005 by a woman named Bridget O'Shaughnessy, who's a local artist. She was actually working for a social service agency running a storytelling program for folks living with mental illness. And through that experience started to pick up on the fact that there were a lot of people out there in her everyday life who must be also struggling in silence, and held the first show in the back of a coffee shop in Oak Park. 5 folks shared their stories. That show was maybe 35, 40 minutes long, and the conversation afterwards lasted for nearly 2 hours. And that was sort of the spark of the power of that personal narrative and what an impact it can have on folks to feel less isolated and to seek healing.
Now, you sat down with Brian with his experience, and you created the screenplay for the new play that we're going to be seeing in a couple weeks, which is First Responders. Tell us the impact that Brian's story had on you and why you felt it was so powerful to share.
Well, we've collected hundreds of stories, and I found that every single person who sits down with us, we're so grateful that they're willing and courageous enough to share such an intimate experience. Brian's had a personally pretty significant impact on myself. To be honest, hadn't really given a whole lot of thought to those folks that are serving us in such a crucial way every day, and the intimacy of horrific experiences that they have and the things that they witness. So I was so incredibly grateful. It's totally changed the way I walk down the street when I encounter folks who are first responders. So it's been a big deal for me personally.
Brian, we've got about a minute left. Tell us about the experience that you had that's now been turned into this play, and what it was like seeing that played out before your eyes.
First of all, they've done a tremendous job, so I encourage everyone to try and come out and support and see the play. This is my personal story, but I hope it conveys the message of all law enforcement that, you know, we are people, we're human beings who go out and do a difficult job each and every day. And, you know, sometimes we're vilified, sometimes we're blamed for issues, but most importantly, there's a lot of us suffering in silence, and we're going to try and convey that message that there is hope, and that if we address these issues, we won't have the suicide rate that unfortunately we've been experiencing most recently in Chicago. We just had another officer do it again last week, and we want to get that message out to officers and to the community that we need to bridge this gap and work together to move this forward, that there has to be resources for the officers.
Do not suffer in silence, right?
Please.
Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. And again, Story Showcase First Responders is playing at Chicago Dramatists on November 12th, 13th, and the 14th at 8 o'clock in the evening. Tickets cost between $10 and $20.